Hey everybody, finally going live with the first episode of my blog. You see I have an extra little partner here, Onyx, chilling over in the corner. I'm going to jump right into it and talk about what all of you have been waiting to hear. I want to start by defining two common terms that we often hear, but are not really sure of what they mean. That is immunization, which the World Health Organization defines as a process where a person is made immune or resistant to a specific infectious disease. To do this, people or the medical field has created vaccines. And vaccines accomplish this goal by helping to stimulate the body's own immune response against the specific disease, all of which can be found on the World Health Organization site, which the link I will post below after this video. So in English, what does this mean, right? I gave you guys these two definitions and it's still very sciencey. So in short, immunization, again, is the way you combat these diseases. And to do that, you create vaccines. And vaccines basically are a form of the disease that you get to kind of introduce your body to the disease in a controlled manner. There are four main types of vaccines. And as I mentioned, they introduce your body to the disease in a controlled manner. And what this means is each vaccine is not a full virus or full disease. You get, there are four different versions of them. The most common is a live attenuated vaccine or a completely inactivated vaccine, in which this means you get a weakened form or a completely inactivated form of the disease in your vaccination. And what this does is target your immune system so that they can understand what the disease is the first time it encounters this and learn how to fight it. The reason why this disease or pathogen is weakened is so that your body can learn how to fight it and get over really quickly. In the case that you're encountering this in the first encountering a disease in the first instance and you have not been vaccinated, it can take up to at least 5 to 10 days for your body to fully build up the immunity that you need to get rid of this. So vaccines kind of circumvent that by training your body, not completely protecting your body, but training your body to fight this disease once it sees it and very efficiently remove it. So like I said, in general, vaccines, everyone wants to know what are in vaccines. We've heard all the bad stories. There's, all these different things. But as I mentioned, in general, vaccines primarily contain some kind of characteristic of the disease that you're trying to vaccinate against, whether this is a component of the pathogen itself, the whole dead version of the pathogen, or a weakened version of the pathogen. Along with the pathogen, it contains some other additives that help to make it easier to treat patients and help these vaccines last long-term in storage. One of the biggest misconceptions that I hear is people say, oh, there's mercury in vaccines and, this is a large problem, this is unhealthy. This is not exactly correct. Mercury has two forms, and what is used in vaccines and is actually not even used as commonly anymore, I think there's about 6 vaccines that still contain it, it's called thimerosal. And thimerosal itself is actually a really good agent to protect against bacterial growth. And they use this in vaccines to help your vaccines not get contaminated before they get into your system. Thimerosal does contain a small amount of ethyl mercury, which is the form of mercury that humans can process and efficiently clear. So it's least likely to cause any type of reaction. It's not very harmful. So that's kind of where that misconception came from. And like I said, even still, the FDA has moved away from using this as their more alternatives have come about, have moved away from using this as a method to control bacteria growth. Other than this, other than this, vaccines generally contain things such as preservatives, adjuvants, which are other little components that are known to help efficiently and quickly activate your immune system so that they can trigger this response and help you build the overall immunity so that when you encounter the full pathogen, you can quickly recognize it and get rid of it. There's also stabilizers, as I said. A lot of these chemicals need to be preserved over storage. You know, they get shipped out to doctors' offices, hospitals. So these stabilizers help them stay vital for the long term. They also include antibiotics, which we all know they do help with bacteria, and deactivators. As I mentioned earlier, you have live attenuated or deactivated components of the pathogen or the disease included into the vaccine. And that's what those deactivators are for. All of this information can be found in a PDF, which I will post the link to at the end of this video on the CDC's website. There's also another blurb on there about thimerosal itself, its response in humans, et cetera, et cetera. So I will post that link and you can check that out after this. So now get into the big question that we are all interested in, right? After explaining all of this, why is it not safe for vaccinated children to be around unvaccinated children? As I mentioned before, when you are vaccinated, you are not completely immunized against the disease. Your body is trained to react and defend you against that disease in a shorter amount of time, which often leads to you not even feeling this disease, right? So just because you say, okay, you get the chickenpox vaccine, just because you never manifested the symptoms of chickenpox does not mean that you did not come into contact with the chickenpox virus. You could have had it, but your body now trained removed that virus before it was able to cause a serious threat. So in the same thought pattern, if you send a child to school who has been vaccinated, or you send a child to play around an unvaccinated child who has a child who is vaccinated, it is a large likelihood that if that unvaccinated child becomes sick, they can then pass that disease still to unvaccinated children because your body is only trained and your body has limits. So you can be overcome with the virus. Your immune system can be overrun. And that is how children who are vaccinated can still get sick. So no, it's not really a good idea, at least until your children are immunocompetent. And I'll probably do another episode to explain a little bit more about immunocompetence, the best ages or the healthiest ages a little bit later down the line. But in general, when you send these or you mix these populations of kids, you increase the chances that the vaccinated children will encounter the virus. The more times that they encounter the virus, the more your immune system is getting worked. So eventually it can become exhausted, overworked, overrun, and that's how these children who are vaccinated can still get sick. So that's mainly what I wanted to touch on in this episode. I'm open to any questions there may be. If you have any follow-up questions that you may have not gotten to ask me on the actual live video, please inbox me. I'll be happy to do follow-up videos answering just questions. I also plan to do an actual historical episode discussing and detailing the history of how vaccines came about, diseases that were eradicated by vaccines, etc. So here I just want to end with a quote from Socrates that says, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." If you think like this, I often do, if you think like this, you always know there's more information out there for you to find. And if you go to find this information, you will feel not only more confident in your own decisions, but the decisions you make for your family. with that, thanks for tuning in.